Chapter 86, 5th Year, Suite 16. Tuesday, March 9th, 1976. It was a miracle of epic proportions that none of them were caught, and even more miraculous that their prank went off without a hitch the next day, resulting in a morning off lessons while Filch dealt with the terrible stench. The rest of the classes took place outside on the grounds in the early spring sunshine, which, as far as the marauders were concerned, was a win. Additionally, Sirius could barely contain his glee when they all returned to their common rooms that evening to find a notice pinned to the corkboard reminding students that dogs were not on the approved list for pets at Hogwarts. This caused a huge amount of confusion among the rest of the student populace, of course.
I've never seen a dog. Who's got a dog?
If one of the Slytherins got a dog in, then I want to bring my rabbit from home.
I think I have seen one in the grounds, actually. Maybe it's a stray.
Needless to say, Sirius and James were in their element.
I'll sniff him out,
Sirius announced.
I bet he's right under our noses.
James laughed.
Could be closer than we think.
Remus laughed too, trying to mask his unease. Sirius had so far said nothing about the half an hour in that broom cupboard. Remus could only assume that either A. Sirius had not found anything out of the ordinary, and in fact Remus was once again overthinking things, likely, or B. Sirius now knew everything about Remus, his darkest desires and deepest secrets, and preferred not to address it because the whole thing was just too embarrassing, less likely, but more frightening. At any rate, Remus threw himself into his schoolwork, his prefect duties, and generally being a model student. This at least ensured that he was out of Sirius's way. Sirius had evidently decided to do the complete opposite. He had never exactly been the best at following rules, of course. But even James admitted that this year Sirius appeared to be attempting some kind of record. He was in detention almost every night, rarely completed his homework, even though he could do it with one arm tied behind his back if he wanted to, and split the rest of his time between making mischief and seeing how far he could get his tongue down Mary MacDonald's throat. Not that Mary seemed to mind much. That was fine. That was just as it should be. It wasn't easy, though. As much of a relief it was to be away from the one person that he couldn't be sensible around. Remus also found it very distressing to be away from the one person he couldn't be sensible around. Marlene and Lily were lovely. They were kind and funny and clever and generous, but they were a poor substitute for the marauders. He even tried spending a bit more time talking to Christopher, asking him questions about home or the music he liked. It was worse than he'd expected. Christopher was a pure-blood wizard who didn't know any muggle music and didn't appear to be that interested in hearing any. On top of that, he had realised his error in spoiling Remus's birthday surprise and wouldn't stop apologising, which was incredibly annoying. Remus had already promised James that he would act surprised when the party was unveiled in his honour. He'd tried to talk them all out of it, of course, but he'd been pleading for moderation since first year and knew he wasn't likely to get it.
"Don't make a fuss on my account,"
he said at dinner the morning before.
"Lily will go mental."
Wrong,
James said smugly.
Lily sent out half the invitations.
Invitations?
Yeah, we've had a lot of interest. Considered charging entry, actually.
Sirius explained, eyes twinkling across the table. Remus looked at his food, quickly. He had decided not to make eye contact with Sirius ever again. It would not be easy, but it was the only way. Of this, he was convinced.
Your little library gang wanted to come,
James continued.
and they're not all Gryffindors, so we had to open it up to other houses. Then there's this weird group of 7th years who said you're a total legend. No idea what that's about. Have you got a secret double life or something, Mooney?
Remus shrugged. He still had some students asking for cigarettes, though he didn't sell them anymore. He usually didn't mind lending fags, though, as long as they were eventually repaid.
Well, anyway.
James pushed his glasses up his nose.
You simply have too many fans, Mooney, and we can't let them all down at short notice, can we?
Fine. No drinking, though.
Remus sighed.
It's a school night.
Wednesday, March 10th, 1976. It rained, the morning of Remus's birthday, but he couldn't have cared less. He woke up to a pile of presents from the Potters, all sorts of lovely things like sweets and a home-baked birthday cake, plus a fine leather-bound notebook and matching quill. There were cards from everybody, including one from Professor Ferox, which made Remus blush from top to bottom. At breakfast, the marauders conducted almost the entire school in a rendition of Happy Birthday, which ended up running to 5 encores before Remus attempted to crawl under the table to escape it. The Slytherins scowled, stony-faced, and in a fit of birthday joie de vivre, Remus actually stuck his tongue out at Snape. The marauders then piled his plate high with a slice of toast for each available topping and handed over their own gifts. Sirius and James were in their Quidditch robes ready for an early morning practice before lessons.
Do we have to, Potter?
Marlene whined, looking up at the enchanted ceiling which was grey and drizzly.
Yes, if we want that cup.
James asserted, pouring her another mug of coffee.
And again, after last bell, before the you-know-what.
He winked at Marlene so elaborately that Remus almost burst out laughing.
Smooth, Potter.
Marlene raised an eyebrow.
Right, I've got to get to the library.
Mary said brightly, climbing up off of Sirius's lap.
Got to hand that divination book back before Pince calls to have me hung, drawn and quartered.
See you after second Quidditch?
Sirius asked, still holding Mary at the hips.
Nah.
She shook her head, ringlets bouncing.
I'm really behind on history. Thought I'd drop in on one of Remus's classes.
Study sessions.
Remus corrected quickly, careful not to look at the couple for too long.
Whatever you say, Professor Lupin.
She grinned at him cheekily.
Oi.
Sirius tugged at her to reclaim her attention.
I thought you were going to sit in the Quidditch stands and do your homework.
Well, I said I might.
Mary squirmed free.
But it's bloomin' freezing out today, and Remus is really good at explaining.
Fine.
Sirius said angrily, tossing his hair and crossing his arms.
Do whatever you like, I don't care.
Oi, don't start with me, Mr. Black.
Mary frowned.
You'll lose, I promise.
Sirius did not look up. Mary put a hand on her hip.
Kiss me goodbye, then?
Sirius didn't move. Mary's face darkened.
Fine.
She snapped, with a little stamp of her foot.
I'll see you when I bloody well see you.
And marched off. Everyone else at the table glanced around awkwardly, and now Remus was not the only one avoiding Sirius's eye. Fortunately, Sirius was, for once, in tune with the feelings of others, and stood up.
See you on the pitch.
He muttered to James as he stalked out of the room, red robes swishing behind him.
Well,
Marlene said.
Can't wait to hear about that for the next 2 weeks. Hope they make up soon.
Everyone at the table agreed.
The thing is,
Mary said to Remus later on that evening as she painted her fingernails a dark, wicked shade of red.
Sirius and I just both have such fiery personalities, you know? In Witch Weekly, it says that means our relationship is very passionate.
Remus replied, trying to tune it out as he very purposefully began drawing out lines for his astronomy chart.
And obviously passion is really good in a relationship.
She continued, blowing on her fingernails.
I mean, it's really good, that side of things.
She smiled to herself in that awful, smug, satisfied, happy way she always did when talking about Sirius.
But he needs to learn that I have my own life, you know? I mean, it's the 70s.
Yeah, great.
Remus nodded, not looking up.
Remus?
Christopher appeared at his side.
Are you doing a star chart? Can I watch?
I'm really not that great at astronomy, Chris.
Remus replied, trying to concentrate on his lines.
You're better off just reading the textbook.
Oh no, I bet you're great.
I'm really not.
Remus!
Mary said, leaning over the desk, jogging his ruler and smearing the tiniest fleck of red nail polish onto his parchment.
Are you listening to me? I asked if you know why Sirius...
Lupin, Lupin.
A third year came running out of the portrait hole.
I lost your notes on unicorns. I'm really sorry, but...
Hiya, Lupin. Can I bum a fag?
A sixth year appeared. Remus screwed up his face. A dull pain had started up behind his eyes.
Can everybody please be quiet?
He said, much more brusquely than he meant to. He looked up and saw everyone staring at him, slightly wide-eyed.
I've got a headache. I'm going for a lie down.
He got up.
Ooh!
Mary said, standing up too.
You can't! Sorry, Remus, but the lads are up there planning,
She bit her lip.
I was supposed to keep you down here.
Remus took a deep breath.
Okay. I'll go to the hospital wing then.
He refused all offers to escort him, hurrying as quickly as possible, skull throbbing sickly with every step. It was no good. He would have to start being rude to people, for the sake of his own sanity, if nothing else. Since when had he become everyone's best friend anyway? Wasn't he just the same scrawny, mean care home brat he'd always been? The cool quiet of the sick bay was so soothing, Remus could have burst into tears. As much as he usually felt very much at home in the warm red glow of the Gryffindor common room, it was in the still, soft greys of the hospital wing where Remus first remembered feeling truly peaceful at Hogwarts. He stood there enjoying it for a moment, eyes closed. If he could just stay here all night.
Hello, Remus, dear.
Madame Pumphrey smiled, coming out of her office.
Everything all right?
Oh no. He really was going to cry. He swallowed helplessly and raised a fist to his forehead.
Remus?
The nurse came over a little quicker, her brow creasing with concern. She was still just a bit taller than him, but they were eye to eye, pretty much.
Sorry.
He gasped, his voice tight and strange as he fought back tears.
I've got a headache.
Sit down,
Madame Pumphrey said gently, motioning to the nearest armchair by an unoccupied bed.
I've just the thing.
She summoned a little pewter vial from her office. It flew into her palm and she uncorked it and gave it to him.
Have 2 good glugs of that. Don't worry, it's nice and sweet.
Her eye twinkled a little. Remus downed the potion and felt all of the tension and pain leave his neck and head at once, like water washing away.
Thanks.
He ducked his head. His voice was still thick.
Sorry. Bit of an overreaction.
Dear Remus,
Madame Pumphrey clucked.
I've known you for 5 years now, and not once have you ever overreacted. Are you sure you're all right?
Yeah, better now, thanks.
I mean, in general.
She pressed.
I've heard you've been burning the candle at both ends, doing long hours in the library, and you have your prefect duties, and your health.
I'm fine.
Remus rubbed his eyes fiercely.
Honestly, maybe just tired. I'll go to bed now.
Happy birthday, Remus,
the Mediwitch said as he got up to leave.
Cheers.
He nodded politely. But then she did something very strange. She reached out and hugged him, very tightly, and not for very long. It was lovely.
Take care of yourself,
she said as he left. He walked back slowly and wished he had an invisibility cloak for it. He could do without Severus following him, or having to break up a hexing match between 2 very inept first years. When he finally reached the portrait hole up to Gryffindor Tower, he really did fancy an early night. But of course, the Marauders had other plans. Happy birthday, Remus! The entire common room exploded as soon as he appeared. They'd done an incredible job. There were streamers hanging from every rafter, portrait and picture rail, and confetti liberally sprinkled over everything else. Students and friends of Remus's from every house and year group grinned back at him, a flock of real live fairies fluttering over their heads. The tables were laden with sandwiches, cakes, pasties and pastries, as well as a huge bowl of very suspicious-looking punch. He smiled as widely as he could as he entered the room.
Oh my God,
he said, hoping he was doing a good surprised face.
You lot are crazy.
They laughed and eagerly ushered him into the room, where he found himself surrounded by cheers and pats on the back and birthday wishes. The record player began to blare, and Remus's 16th birthday party began in earnest.
I think this is bigger than Sirius's party,
James said, handing Remus a cup of the purplish-looking punch.
Don't tell him I said that, though.
I don't know why all these people are here,
Remus replied, staring around amazed. Everyone from every one of his classes, his study group, some people he'd only spoken to a few times before.
Because you're Mooney, obviously, the acceptable face of the Marauders.
James nudged him.
Wow, look at Evans.
Lily did look lovely, in a deep maroon miniskirt and high wedge sandals. She was dancing with Marlene and Mary in a little group of 3, laughing and raising her hands above her head.
Please tell me someone's confiscated your broom tonight,
Remus said to James, who laughed good-naturedly.
Don't worry, I'm not planning to get that drunk again anytime soon. I'm going to try playing hard to get tonight.
She'll appreciate that,
Remus replied. He scanned the room for Sirius, who seemed to be missing. There was Peter, cozied up in an armchair with Desdemona. There was Christopher, having a very earnest conversation with a third-year Ravenclaw girl, occasionally glancing up to smile at Remus. The rest of the Gryffindor Quidditch team were huddled around the punch, challenging each other to down stronger and stronger measures. No Sirius. James must have seen him looking.
He's moping somewhere, over Mary.
He explained.
I told him, if he can't cheer the fuck up, then he's not to come down here bringing everyone else down. I've taken him a few drinks up, but it's not working.
Oh, right. Still haven't made up then.
Remus watched Mary, still dancing, who had caught the eye of almost every boy in the room.
Doesn't look like it. I thought maybe tough love would help, but I'm not as good at it as you, so he's sulking. Don't mind him though, Mooney. Enjoy your party.
He did try to. The cake Mrs. Potter had sent was glorious, heavy, rich chocolate with white icing and multicoloured hundreds and thousands. The candles were enchanted to burn all evening without dripping wax, and only went out for a few moments after Remus blew on them. He did not dance, though Marlene and Lily tried to drag him up a few times, but he did mingle, thanking people for coming, and having quite a nice chat with the 7th years about which NEWTS to take.
You should be a teacher,
one of them said, which Remus thought was very kind, but completely insane. It must have been getting close to midnight when he patted his back pocket for his pack of cigarettes and found them missing. Sighing, he considered leaving it, but he had had enough to drink now, and just really wanted a smoke more than anything. There was still a box in the bottom of his trunk, if Sirius hadn't pinched them. He decided to go and look. Halfway up the stairs, he bumped into James again.
Sorry, Mooney,
the black-haired boy said, looking a bit drunk and a bit annoyed.
He's coming down now.
Remus looked over James's shoulder to see a sullen-faced Sirius following him down the stairs.
Not going to bed, are you?
James asked.
No.
Remus shook his head, almost struck dumb.
Fags.
Filthy habit,
James said with a wonky smirk. He glanced over his shoulder.
Come on then, Black.
Just a sec,
Sirius said, looking at Remus.
I just want to say happy birthday to Mooney.
Fine, but hurry up,
James said, slurring.
Remus, tell him to swallow his stupid bloody pride and get down there and snog Mary, eh?
Okay, prongs.
James pushed the door open, and for a few seconds light and noise invaded the staircase, before muting again as he closed the door behind him. Sirius and Remus were alone.
Happy birthday, Mooney,
Sirius said, coming down a few steps to stand level with Remus.
Cheers.
Remus smiled, as casually as he could.
You okay?
Yeah, fine,
Sirius said, though it was clearly a lie. He was fiddling with an empty cup.
Sorry if I ruined your party.
You didn't. It's been great.
Good.
Quiet. Sirius looked down, then up at Remus again.
James reckons I need to be the one to go and make up with Mary.
Probably a good idea.
You think so?
Well, yeah.
Remus was confused.
You like Mary, I thought.
Sirius shrugged, looking at Remus again, his eyes dark blue, flecked with sharp, icy silver. His lips were shiny and red from drinking, and he had that slightly petulant look he got when he wasn't smiling. Remus almost wanted to look away. He was so gorgeous. It couldn't be right, staring at each other like that. It couldn't possibly end well.
I do like Mary,
Sirius said, leaning forward slightly. Remus could feel his breath on his skin.
So go and snog her then, silly prat,
Remus said, hurriedly, trying to step back but bumping against the wall behind him. It really was such a stupidly narrow stairway, like the broom cupboard all over again.
I will,
Sirius said, biting his lip slightly. Oh God, Remus thought.
I will, in a minute.
Remus swallowed.
Have you ever kissed anyone, Remus?
No, you know I haven't.
The lie came easily now. Sirius nodded, looking at him again, that forward, knowing look.
It's really not as scary as you think it is,
Sirius said. Remus couldn't bear it. He might never know what came over him in that moment. It was all just too much, and he grabbed the back of the other boy's neck and pulled him forward, pressing his lips hard against Sirius's. It was terrifying and amazing. Even more so when Sirius began kissing him back, opening his lips and allowing Remus to slide his tongue inside. It was all at once startling, incredible, and familiar. He couldn't think, as if every transmitter in his brain had short-circuited at once, fizzing and popping, sending off sparks. Yes, was the only coherent thought he had. Yes, 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 yes. They came to their senses simultaneously, both pulling away. Remus snatched back his hand. Sirius stared at him wide-eyed. Remus looked away first.
I'd better...
Sirius started back towards the common room.
Yeah, I was just...
Remus backed away, up the stairs. Sirius disappeared back towards the party, and Remus exhaled deeply, feeling he might sink to the floor. He ran his fingers through his hair and wiped his mouth. He rubbed his eyes and fought the urge to punch the wall. What had he been playing at? Sirius would think he was completely mad, or worse. He'd never done anything like that before. Maybe he was mad. He had to say sorry. He had to make it right, before Sirius told James, before they all knew. Remus straightened his shirt and headed down the stairs, hoping to catch up with Sirius to apologize, to somehow explain. He re-entered the common room, still vibrant with light and music, and saw something that made him stop still. He shrank back, unable to look away. Sirius was snogging Mary. He had her pushed up against the marble mantelpiece, and she looked like she was pushing back against him with equal ferocity, their bodies pressed together, heads bobbing. Her arms were slung around his neck, her thin dark fingers curling in his hair. Everyone cheered and hooted merrily. Remus turned on his heel and marched straight back to the tower. He ignored James and Peter, who were planning to head to the kitchens for more supplies. He just shook his head, mute, and carried on up the stairs to their bedroom. He drew the curtains around his bed closed and lay down, feeling strange. He covered his face with his arms and thought about the two of them together. He thought about Sirius's eyes and the curve of Mary's hips until he fell into a fitful sleep.